an expatriate American who had left Saint Martin 25 years earlier because it was too crowded, whose cook, Diana, served wholesome, spicy West Indian food in an open-air dining room with grand views of the hills and the sea 1,500 feet below. This was the late 20th century expatriate's fantasy of the Caribbean, where the last few centuries seem almost not to have happened. Saba looked and felt outside time, at least modern time, like a Benedictine monastery in Tuscany or a Shaker settlement in rural New Hampshire. Later that first evening, as we walked beneath wide swaths of stars, from Scout's Place downhill to the settlement of Windward's Side, I silently mused that if I ever wished to escape my past, or indeed my present, I could slip away to the Dutch island of Saba. Yes, I could rent a little house on the side of a hill just beyond one of the villages, perhaps the very hill we are now descending. I might plant a vegetable garden behind my house, maybe that whitewashed stucco cottage over there in the moonlight beside the road. To pay for my few living expenses, I can learn from Scout's chef, Diana, how to cook Creole style and open a 4-table restaurant in the shaded terrace. Once a month the packet boat or plane from Saint Martin will bring me a replacement batch of books from the lending library in Phillipsburg and batteries and tubes for my Hallicrafters 2-way shortwave radio and a stack of English-language newspapers. I might begin a benign, low-key love affair with a Saban widow who has taken over her late husband's position as the island postmaster. Our love affair will gradually intensify until either the widow moves in with me or I move into her whitewashed cottage down in the settlement. Then the question of marriage will arise. My past and my present will have caught up with me again. My longing for escape will have begun again. If one is an escape artist and one has finally managed successfully to escape, to the island of Saba, for instance, where does one run to then? Is it an infinite egress? I was surprised that even here, in the company of the woman I hoped would become my 4th wife, I had seduced myself, for the 100th time, if only briefly, into inventing a story about the possibility and pleasure of running away from my interlocked past and present and the future they portended. My compulsion, if that's what it was, momentarily embarrassed me. Perhaps that's why I was able to summon the courage to resume telling Chase the true story of the end of my first marriage. Or maybe I sincerely believed that, despite my past and slowly fading escapist fantasy of the present, this time my future really would be different, and thus I could risk revealing my past. Maybe, now that I had fallen in love with Chase, I was at last no longer an escape artist. There was no way in this for me to make myself look good, or even mildly sympathetic, and still tell what happened, or what I thought happened, or, on the island of Saba some 28 years later, what I remembered as having happened, or now, more than a half-century later, what I imagine happened. But these were the indisputable facts. In May 1960, Darlene gave birth to our daughter, whom we named Leona. In September 1960, Darlene and Leona left Boston by Greyhound for Darlene's parents' home in Pinellas Park, Florida. Or was it November 1960? Or December? I don't remember. I do know that I was still 20 years old and Darlene was still 19. I tried, and am trying again now, 55 years later, to recall how I made this take place, how, without my leaving our small one-bedroom, third-floor apartment on Peterborough Street in Boston's Back Bay, I managed to abandon my teenaged wife and infant daughter. But except for that deep knowledge that it's I who was responsible for it, that Darlene did not want to leave me or the city of Boston and the hardscrabble bohemian life we had made for ourselves there, and did not want to raise our child without me beside her, I have almost no sequential linked memories of the events of that summer and fall. I know only that somehow I managed to convince her to return to her parents in Florida and raise our daughter there alone. I did not abandon